Hi there, I'm Una, you're very welcome to my channel. I have been using the Colour Combos stamp and die set from Waffle to create a series of videos, and I'll link to them down below in case you'd be interested in watching. This is the set, and the two I'm using today are the ones on the left here. Now you could absolutely use this technique yourself if you have a rectangle die and a square die, but I do hope you'll stay with me for this while I show you how I did it. I discovered at the end of this video that I have a rectangle die in my A7 layering set that is exactly the same size as the 6-panel one here on the right that I started with today. But this is how I did it. I traced the outline of the die and gave myself guidelines for how to cut out the squares. And I'm being very precise with my trimmer. I want it to be a perfect rectangle. And then I start cutting out the squares. And because of the pencil lines I put into the 6 panels, that's very easy to do. And I remove the low-tack tape. That Thermoweb low-tack tape that I bought recently, I didn't realise when I was ordering it that it was different from the one that I had seen the crafters using. In fact, this is so low tack, I don't get very many uses out of the pieces. That was a bit disappointing, but it is good. Now my frame is ready, and I want to remove the pencil lines carefully and then get rid of the debris off my desk. I deal with the sentiment next. And this is a very flimsy stamp that came with a very inexpensive embossing folder set. But I decided to try them today, and what is it about that swing lid that I just can't seem to manage? I'm always getting ink on my fingers. In fact, I had to swap up the big pad for a small pad because these were so thin I was getting ink on the edge of the stamps. Now, using a tip from Kathy Zilski, I'm pressing the lid of the MISTI with a cloth, and really this does make life much easier. And don't be afraid of these inexpensive stamps. I got a really good image once I got the ink pad right and using a stamping tool. They were very nice. I cut them all out to use them again. Ink blots, where do they come from? Using my Tombow Mono eraser there to get rid of one. Now, preparing a panel to do some ink blending, and I took out my favourite Distress inks and my Waffle Flower Media Mat. That's a new purchase and I'm absolutely thrilled with it. Look at the way it grabs the paper and holds it in place. I don't have to get my fingers inky. I can just concentrate on getting ink onto my brush. It did move around a little bit, but not so that it interfered with the way I was able to ink blend. Now, there's nothing special about my ink blending. There are crafters out there who can do it an awful lot better than me, Christina Werner for one, so I would suggest that you go look up her videos if you want to learn about ink blending. But I don't think I did too badly. I just went back and forth with my inks until I got a good saturation. And that one on the bottom, Lucky Clover, is a new purchase. I've been building up my supply of Distress inks over the years and I love it. Clean off the mat, which is a very easy task to do. Test it over my panel and everything's fitting nicely. Then I cut out the bits and pieces that I wanted to put into the frame. Those are dies I've had in my stash for absolutely forever. I cut some thin strips of paper and I'm going to put them on the back of the frame. And the reason I'm cutting them really thin is because I want to be able to slide the little die cut images in behind the frame to make them look as if they're coming from behind the frame. And this is an easy task to accomplish. I have it done in no time at all. And then I apply glue. It's Hi-Tack Fast Tack glue in a Gina K bottle. I apply the glue and adhere it on top of my panel. and then just pop the MISTI on top until that dries. And then I discovered, by accident actually, that I much prefer this orientation of the card with the green on top. Now, you'll see what I mean about the thin strip allowing me to push the little die cut pieces in behind the frame. And so I adhere all the different die cuts into place. And I think the white is just beautiful against the inked background. I'll show you in a moment what those individual dies are. I did toy with the idea of putting a butterfly on the frame at the end, but I decided not in the end. It was just fine the way it was. And if you want to pause and see what they were, you can do so there. Now I decided I wanted to cut square frames to put around the 6 little individual panels. So very carefully I laid my big die over my square die and adhered them with a post-it note, and I got a perfect square frame. Now you could do this, if you don't have the colour combos, you could do that if you have a nesting set of square dies. I don't, but I know a lot of crafters do. And I used removable tape to adhere the 6 panels together just to check that it was going to look right. Then I took them apart and glued them down individually. That added a really nice touch. It didn't look finished, it needed something to just give it that extra pop. So it's fitting my card nicely, and there's a nice white border. So using liquid glue again. Now I did spend some time making absolutely sure I was getting this straight. That's the joy of editing. You don't have to watch me do the boring bits. I do hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll give the technique a try. I was super delighted with this card. I think it's really gorgeous. Maybe you'd like to watch some more videos. I would love if you would subscribe to my channel. Likes are very important on YouTube, so would you give this video a thumbs up? That would be great. And if you want to leave me a comment, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All the best for now. Bye. Take care.